Here's what happens when couples stop discussing the difficult topics. First, they think they're avoiding conflict. Smart move, right? Wrong. Because those unspoken feelings don't disappear. They turn into assumptions, then resentment, then emotional withdrawal. Before you know it, you're living like roommates who share a bed. Today, I'm showing you exactly how this happens. The 3 stages of silent relationship breakdown. The warning signs most people miss. And the one conversation that can stop this cycle before it destroys what you've built together. You think you're being the mature one by staying quiet, but you're actually setting a trap that will destroy your relationship from the inside out. Let's talk about the lie you tell yourself. Every time you choose silence over truth, you convince yourself that avoiding conflict makes you the bigger person, that swallowing your words shows wisdom, that keeping your mouth shut when something bothers you proves you're emotionally mature. The reality is, you're not being noble. You're being a coward who's disguising avoidance as virtue. Here's what really happens when you choose this so-called peaceful silence. You create a breeding ground for resentment that grows stronger every single day. Each time you bite your tongue instead of speaking up, you're not preventing a fight. You're storing ammunition for a war that will eventually tear your relationship apart. This hostile withdrawal does more damage than any argument ever could because at least arguments clear the air. Silence just poisons it. The truth is, you've turned your partner into a mind reader who always guesses wrong. You expect them to know exactly what you need without you ever saying it. When they inevitably fail to read your thoughts, you feel more justified in your silence. They feel confused and shut out. Both of you become trapped in a cycle where you're constantly misunderstanding each other's needs because nobody's actually communicating them. Wake up. Staying quiet to keep the peace builds resentment faster than any direct confrontation ever would. When you argue, you deal with the issue and move on. When you stay silent, the issue festers and multiplies. It connects to other unspoken grievances until you have a mountain of resentment that started as a simple conversation you were too afraid to have. You need to understand the difference between comfortable silence and hostile withdrawal. Comfortable silence happens when you're both content and connected. Hostile withdrawal happens when you're punishing your partner with your silence. One brings you closer. The other builds walls that get higher every day. Those unspoken feelings don't disappear just because you refuse to voice them. They transform into assumptions that poison every interaction. You assume your partner doesn't care because they didn't do what you never asked for. They assume you're fine because you said you were when you clearly weren't. These assumptions become the foundation of your relationship instead of actual communication. What feels like taking the high road is actually the most selfish thing you can do to someone you love. You're forcing them to navigate a relationship with someone who won't tell them what's wrong, but punishes them for not knowing. You're making them guess at your needs while you judge them for guessing incorrectly. But the real damage happens when silence becomes a weapon, not just a shield. There's a 3-step process that kills emotional connection faster than infidelity, and most couples do it without realizing they're destroying their relationship. When your partner finally gets the courage to express their feelings after weeks or months of silence, you have a choice. You can listen and validate their experience, or you can shut them down completely. Most people choose the shutdown without even knowing they're doing it. They follow a 3-step pattern that guarantees their partner will never be vulnerable with them again. The first threat happens when you disagree with how they feel instead of listening to what they're telling you. Your wife says she feels hurt that you forgot your anniversary, and you respond with, "You're making a big deal out of nothing. It's just another day." You just dismissed her emotions completely. You told her that her feelings are wrong instead of hearing that she values your relationship milestones. This dismissal makes her feel misunderstood and emotionally neglected, signaling that her emotions don't matter in the relationship. The second threat comes when you immediately defend yourself instead of validating their experience. Instead of acknowledging her pain, you make it about your justification. "I didn't forget. I was just busy with work." You're being unfair by making this about me. Now, you've shifted the focus from her experience to your own defense. You've made her pain about your need to be right. This defensive response tells her that protecting your ego matters more than understanding her feelings. The third threat happens when you criticize how they express their hurt, turning their vulnerability into an attack on their communication style. "You didn't have to yell at me. If you had just said it nicely, maybe I'd care more." You just turned the conversation into an attack on how she communicated instead of addressing the actual emotion. You've made her emotional expression the problem instead of the underlying issue. This triple threat creates a devastating cycle. Each threat builds on the previous one, creating an emotional shutdown that feels impossible to reverse. Your partner learns that being vulnerable leads to dismissal, defensiveness, and criticism. They stop trying to connect because they know they'll be invalidated. You both start avoiding difficult conversations because you know they'll end in frustration and distance. The pattern trains both partners to stay silent because speaking up only leads to more pain. The hurt partner withdraws emotionally, feeling that expressing their feelings is pointless if they won't be acknowledged. This breeds resentment and corrodes intimacy, setting the stage for relationship breakdown, where both partners feel unheard and unappreciated. The truth is, breaking just one part of this cycle can stop the entire pattern and begin rebuilding emotional safety. You don't have to fix all 3 threats at once. But even when you recognize these patterns, there's still one final barrier that keeps couples trapped in silence. The conversation that saves your relationship isn't the one you think it is. It's the one where you stop trying to be right and start trying to understand. The reality is, most people approach difficult conversations trying to win instead of trying to connect. You enter the conversation with your defense ready, your justifications lined up, and your counter-arguments prepared. You're treating your partner like an opponent in a debate instead of someone you love who's trying to share their experience with you. This competitive approach guarantees that someone will lose, and when someone loses in a relationship, you both lose. The first step to breaking through years of built-up resentment is acknowledging that you've both contributed to the silence. You both chose to stay quiet when you should have spoken up. You both dismissed each other's attempts to communicate. You both built walls instead of bridges. This isn't about blame. It's about reality. Until you both own your part in creating this distance, you'll keep repeating the same patterns. Creating emotional safety means listening without immediately defending or fixing, just witnessing your partner's experience. When they tell you they felt hurt, your job isn't to explain why they shouldn't feel that way. Your job is to understand why they do feel that way. This requires you to sit with discomfort instead of rushing to resolve it. It means hearing their pain without making it about your need to be innocent. You need to recognize when you're contributing to the silent treatment cycle and interrupt your own defensive patterns. Notice when you feel your chest tighten or your jaw clench during difficult conversations. These physical reactions signal that you're about to shut down or attack. Instead of following that impulse, take a breath and ask yourself what your partner really needs from you in this moment. The power of validation without agreement means you can understand someone's feelings without having to fix them. You can say, "I felt an extra burden yesterday after the long day I had when I came home and the trash wasn't taken out," without your partner having to agree that you're right to feel that way. You're sharing your experience, not demanding their compliance. Watch your language. Emotionally available phrases sound like, "Help me understand," and "That must have been difficult." Warning signs of shutdown include, "You're being too sensitive," and "Here we go again." These phrases signal that you're not ready to connect. The goal isn't to eliminate all conflict, but to create a relationship where silence means peace, not punishment. Healthy relationships have disagreements, but they don't have emotional withdrawal as a weapon. They have conversations that build understanding, even when they don't solve everything immediately. Your relationship will either die in silence or grow through honest conversation. There is no middle ground. You cannot stay quiet forever and expect your connection to survive. The research shows that couples who commit to open dialogue and address underlying issues experience significant improvement when they replace invalidation with validation and rebuild trust through honest communication. Now you have to decide whether you're building walls or bridges with your communication choices. Are you staying silent to avoid discomfort while your relationship slowly dies? Or are you ready to have the difficult conversations that create real intimacy? Start with one honest conversation this week about something you've been avoiding, because your relationship's survival depends on it. Right now, in this very moment, you're standing at a crossroads. Down one path lies the slow, suffocating death of your relationship. Death by 1,000 unspoken words. Death by the poison of accumulated resentment. Death by the cowardice disguised as keeping the peace. Down the other path lies the uncomfortable truth that will set you free. Real love requires real conversations. Your relationship is dying in silence. Every day, you choose silence over truth. You're choosing comfort over connection. Every time you swallow your words to avoid conflict, you're actually creating a bigger war that will eventually destroy everything you've built together. You cannot love someone you refuse to be honest with. You cannot build intimacy with someone you won't be vulnerable with. You cannot create a future with someone you're emotionally hiding from. Here's what you're going to do in the next 24 hours. Not next week, not when you feel ready, but right now. Pick one conversation you've been avoiding. Just one. The thing you've been hoping will just go away. The hurt you've been carrying. The need you've been afraid to express. The boundary you've been scared to set. Schedule it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. There isn't one. Look at your partner and say, "There's something I need to talk to you about. When can we sit down together tonight?" Show up differently. Instead of trying to win, try to connect. Instead of defending, try understanding. Instead of fixing, try witnessing. The conversation starter that changes everything. Use these exact words. "I've been holding back something that's affecting our relationship, and I don't want to do that anymore. I need to share this with you because I love us too much to let silence destroy what we have." Then tell them one truth you've been hiding. Just one. Watch what happens when you choose courage over comfort. This is your moment. Your relationship will not survive another month of silence. It will not magically improve because you're both nice people. It will not fix itself while you're both pretending everything is fine. But it can be saved. It can become stronger. It can become the connection you both desperately want. The question isn't whether you love each other. The question is whether you love each other enough to have the hard conversations that create real intimacy. Stop reading. Start talking. Close this article. Put down your phone. Find your partner. And have the conversation that will either save your relationship or free you both from the prison of unspoken resentment. Your future together depends on the words you speak or stay silent about in the next 24 hours. The choice is yours. The time is now. What conversation will you have today?